So we're going to continue with chapter 12 today. We're looking at day 2. It's all about the quadratic formula. There aren't a ton of examples today. There's actually only 5. Because once you do it, there's only 5 in. So yeah, once you get the hang of it, once you see the pattern, these go, they all go the same way. So there's not a lot of surprises today. Okay? So, to find the solution for a quadratic equation in this form. So this looks kind of scary, but this is the same form that it's in when we use the MA bottoms up method. You just have your x squared term first, then your x, then your regular number. Okay? So the number in front of the x squared, we're going to call that A. The number in front of the x, we're going to call that B. And the number that's by itself is our C. And it has to be equal to 0 for this to work. Okay? We can use the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula. Okay? You have to memorize this. Okay? So, I'm going to show you. Someone who's memorized this. And I'm just going to say if she can do it, you can do it. Okay? I wish this was my daughter, but no, she is not.
Somebody else. Father was so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. That's good.
Good job, Emily. What about the x equals?
X equals negative.
Huh?
X equals negative plus or minus the square root. Base square minus 4ac. Over 2.
Okay, so you don't have to be that enthusiastic. But if she can do it, you can do it. Okay? So, I still honestly, to this day, sing Pop Goes the Weasel in my head every time I write this out. Okay? So you know Pop Goes the Weasel? It's like all around the mulberry bush. A monkey chased the weasel.
All over 2A.
It's like, have you ever seen a Jack in the Box? No?
I've never had a Jack in the Box.
But you know.
Okay, you guys aren't living your best life. Okay. So, we're all going to sing it together. Are you ready? We are. Okay. So, Pop Goes the Weasel. Are you ready? Are you ready? If you don't sing, you're going to come up and do a solo.
I can't sing.
All right, are you ready? X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Beautiful. We will sing that song at the beginning of every example today. Are you ready? No, you're not ready? All right, number 1. Okay, so I'm going to start by reminding myself what it is. Are you ready? X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
That's easy.
Okay? So, the other trick, besides the lovely singing, is identifying what's A, what's B, and what's C. So, in this problem, what is my A? 1. So, this is A. What's B? 6. And what's C? 8. So, I'm going to rewrite this. I'm not going to write the A equals every time, or the X equals every time. I'm just going to start with the negative B part, okay? So I want negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 8 all over 2 times 1. Okay? Now it's just kind of plug and chug order of operations. So worry about the negative 6 plus or minus later. Let's simplify what's in the radical first. What is 6 squared?
36.
36. Minus, what's 4 times 1 times 8?
32.
32. All over 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, what is 36 minus 32? 4. And what is the square root of 4? 2. So this is where I am going to branch it off. I have negative 6 plus 2 over 2. I also have negative 6 minus 2 over 2. What is negative 6 plus 2?
Negative.
And what's negative 4 divided by 2?
Negative 2.
So negative 2 is one of my solutions. What is negative 6 minus 2?
Negative 8.
Negative 8. What's negative 8 divided by 2?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. And this is an x equals. Good. So, you might be saying to yourself, well, why didn't I just MA this, x plus 2, x plus 4, solve those two equations and be done with it?
Oh.
You could do that on this one. The quadratic formula is used mostly for these type of problems where they're not easily factorable. Okay? So this is sort of like your ace in the hole. When you try MA and nothing works, when you can't factor with dots, when there's no GCF, nothing's really working out, you want to use this guy. Okay? This always works. It's like your trick. When all else fails, use the quadratic formula. Okay? Students don't particularly like it because it's not fast, but it's very reliable because it's not really that hard. You know what I'm saying? So, what are your questions on the quadratic formula? Okay.
Do we have to?
Do you have to what?
No, never mind.
Are you sure I can?
Yeah, no.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here's number 2.
Okay.
All right, you guys all warmed up? Oh.
That's what I was asking. Do we have to sing again?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Wait. Oh.
X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. Very good. Woo! I love it. That's my favorite student. Where were you?
Writing.
Right. Okay. I'm going to need a little more participation on the next round. I'm going to start calling you guys up here. Thank you.
Are you serious about that?
Yeah. Why not?
Because.
Please. I have the worst singing voice in the world. If I can do it, you can do it. All right. What's A?
2.
2. What's B?
7.
7. What's C?
15.
Negative 15. C is a package deal right there. Okay. So I'm just going to start replacing. Negative B is negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 15. I'm out of space. All over 2 times 2. I mean, that's just some beautiful stuff right there. I mean,
4.
wow. If this video doesn't launch my YouTube success, I don't know what will. All right, negative 7 plus or minus.
Put that in your intro.
This, me singing. La 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 la.
What's Mr. Nelson's channel again?
Mr. Do the math. All right. What is 7 squared?
7 squared.
49. what is 4 times 2 times 15? 120. And it's minus a negative 120. So it's going to be like a plus 120. Good. And it's going to all be divided by 4 this time. All right, so I have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 169. That is a perfect square, so that's great.
Wait, what's 113?
13 times 13.
Okay, so this is going to be negative 7 plus or minus 13 over 4. Now I'm going to break it up. My two options. I can do negative 7 plus 13 over 4. I can do negative 7 minus 13 over 4.
Wait, you don't have to do both?
I mean, yeah, you got to do both. Sorry. The way I said it made you... No. It's going to be both. We do say plus or minus, but it's really like plus and minus. You're right. Okay, negative 7 plus 13.
Negative 6.
Whoa, careful.
Yeah.
What?
No, it's 6. Oh, 6.
Regular 6. 6 over 4 reduces to what? 3 over 2. Done up there. What is negative 7 minus 13? And what's negative 20 over 4? Negative 5. All right, so if you want to write it as one solution, it's x equals 3 over 2 and negative 5. Once again, this is factorable, especially if you're still struggling with like bottoms up. You know, you might want to just go with this method. You know, on the like PSAT or, you know, on the chapter test, if you want to check your work, you can do any method. I won't actually probably even know. When the directions say use the quadratic formula, you have to use the quadratic formula. If it says solve using any method you want, you get to pick. So you decide. Do you want to factor or not? Any questions? Okay, continuing on.
Nope, not saying that.
Come up to the front, Isaiah.
No.
Okay, before we start singing, what do we have to do? Yeah, it has to be equal to 0 before we can use the quadratic formula. So 2x squared minus 2x minus 1 equals 0. What's my A?
2.
What's my B?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. What's my C?
Negative 1.
Okay. Oh, I need one of those like whistles, you know? They do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can pick perfect.
Yes. All right, are you ready? You may lead. You're good? You sure? All right, ready? X equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Wow. Make me so proud I could just cry.
Sam, you scared me.
Okay, now I want a negative 2. A negative 2.
It's 2.
So 2. Plus or minus the square root of. Now, be careful with your signs. You are squaring whatever b is. So you need to put that in parentheses, okay? When it's a negative, write it in parentheses so you remember to do negative 2 times negative 2. All right? The signs are kind of tricky when b is negative. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 1. And that's all under the square root
2 times 2.
over 2 times 2. Okay, so 2 plus or minus. What is negative 2 squared? 4. What is 4 times 2 times negative 1?
Or 8.
So it's going to be plus 8, right? Because it's minus a negative 8. Does everyone's still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, all over 4. 2 Plus or
I
minus.
have a question.
Yes.
Can you knock out the 2 and the 4?
No.
Wait, you still gotta keep the 12 in the oh, duh. We gotta simplify.
Okay. 12 is not a perfect square.
Unfortunately.
Make a tree.
So we're going to do a little tree action.
2.
So now we have 2 plus or minus 2 square root 3 all over 4. Now, there was an interesting question up front. Back here, could you simplify the 2 and the 4 on this step? And I quickly said no.
Because you gotta do it on this step.
Because it only works like that if every term in your numerator can also be divided by that number. Very similar to what we did when we were like factoring out a GCF, when we were doing rational expressions and then simplifying. It's the same thing. It's sort of like factoring a 2 out of every term in the top and then simplifying. I'm not really going to write it out that way. I'm just going to do it in my head. Do you see how this 2 and this 2 outside of the radical and this 2 can all be simplified?
That's a 4, right?
You know what? What goes into all of those numbers, 2, 2, and 4? 2. So what I'm going to do is divide each of those numbers outside the radical. Don't get inside the radical. That's a whole different world, okay? I'm going to divide them all by 2. So it's going to be 1 plus or minus 1, but I'm not going to write it because this is my final answer, and that would be silly, over 2.
Yay.
Now, you can leave it like that, or you can rewrite it as 1 plus square root 3 over 2, comma, 1 minus square root 3 over 2. I don't care which way you do it, okay? What are your questions? We good?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4. I always like to keep the number with the x squared positive.
Equals x, 8.
So what should I do?
Subtract 8x and add 1. I just said that.
Good. So I have 4x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to go boys only this time.
What? It's 2019.
I am not a boy. So
I'm gonna tackle.
It's 2019, gender doesn't matter.
okay.
What?
Ready?
No.
Ready?
Go.
Can you say it?
Okay.
Oh, if we can just.
X
Go.
equals negative c plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
I'll take it. I mean, it's pretty boring. I almost fell asleep, but I'll take it.
I agree with Tim.
Thank you. All right. What is A?
4.
Not x squared, just the 4. What is the B?
Negative 8.
-8. What is C?
1.
1. So I want negative 8. 8. Plus or minus the square root of -8 squared. I'm going to keep it in parentheses so I remember it's a -8 times a -8 minus 4 times 4 times 1 all over 2 times 4. I mean, I think I should take this show on the road. Please. My kids went to an assembly yesterday. They watched someone play with a yo-yo for an hour.
Was it like the science
I don't know, but I mean, come on. If that person can get a whole hour-long show traveling around the different schools, I feel like, I mean, come
Was he
on.
doing trick stuff?
Come on.
Was he doing trick stuff?
I mean, I don't know, but all of a sudden everyone in my house wants to own a yo-yo.
Whoa.
All right. Negative 8 squared is?
Wait, why isn't it?
64. 64, yeah.
It's a negative 8.
64.
Hold on. We're going back to the first B. So B is negative 8. So negative B would be negative 8. So positive 8 plus or minus negative 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 4 times 1? 16 all over 8. Okay, what is 64 minus 16? It is not a negative. Positive 48.
Over 8.
Okay,
I'm smart, right?
is that a perfect square?
Yeah. No.
No. So I'm going to do a little tree over to the side.
24 and 2.
24 and 2, that's prime.
12 and 2.
2 and 12, that's prime.
6 and 2.
Prime.
3 and 2.
Prime. Okay, who's coming out?
2 and 2.
A 2 and these 2, right?
4.
Okay, so I have 8 plus or minus 4 square root. Who's left over? 3?
3.
All over 8.
And no song.
Oh, they're all divisible by
2. 4.
4. 2 is an option, but then they'll all be divisible by 2 again, so you have to do it twice. If you pick the largest number that goes into all of them, then you only have to do it once. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. Plus or minus, what's 4 square root of 3 divided by 4? Just square root 3. What is the bottom 8?
2.
Also 2. Now, careful. A lot of people will take this one step further and simplify the 2's. You can't do that because both terms would need to have the 2 in order to simplify it again. Okay? Questions? You could write it out twice if you want. One plus option, one minus option, or you can be done here. I prefer being done here. Questions? All right. Last one of the day. All right, it's already equal to 0.
Okay, let's do this.
Should we go girls only?
Yeah, girls only.
No. Okay, I'm going to try to do it without singing it so I can try to think about it myself.
All right, go ahead. Solo.
What? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm memorizing it.
Are you doing it? Okay. Go for it.
X equals negative square plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times 8. Ah!
You got it. 4.
4 times AC over 2a.
Perfect. You got it. I like it. Thank you. All right. What's my A? 2. What's my B? Negative 7. Keep the negative with the 7. All right. What's my C? Negative 4. Don't drop the negatives. Okay. So I want negative 7. Which is 7. Plus or minus?
Oh.
Plus.
You don't get to.
It's not. It's minus.
You don't get to pick. All right. 4A is 2. C is negative 4. Sorry, I'm out of space. All over 2 times 2.
I don't think it's a pick. That would be fun.
That would be fun. All right. We are still working with a 7 up front. What is negative 7 squared?
Negative 14.
No. Oh my god. Okay. I said, what's negative 7 squared? And he said negative 14. And then I cried and quit my job. That would be so disappointing. Okay, no, it is positive 49. What is minus 4 times 2 times negative 4?
Positive 32.
So it's going to be plus 32. Good. Okay. All over 4. All right. Inside of there, what are we working with? 81. Oh, that's fun. Why is that so fun?
Perfect square.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have to do, I'm out of spaces. It's usually where I like fork it off. But I'm just going to write them down here. So I have the plus. That'll give me one of my answers. And then I'll also do it with a minus. That will give me my other answer.
Why on the last one you just stopped?
On the last one I stopped because there was a square root. So I couldn't actually add the numbers and divide by 2. So I left it in terms of the square root. Here you can actually finish off the math because these are numbers we actually know how to work with. They're like radicals, meaning there are no radicals.
So I'm guessing that happens in junior year. You learn how to do that?
They both of them happen. Okay, so what is 7 plus 9?
16.
And what's 16 divided by 4?
4.
4.
Yay.
What is 7 minus 9?
-2.
And negative 2 over 4 is? Negative 1/2. These are our 2 answers. You could write it as one line if you want.
We did it. We did it. Yeah, we did it.
All right. What are your questions on the quadratic formula? All right. What?
Oh, we're done?
Let's summarize what we learned today.
Yay.
We learned whatever that is.
What did we learn?
Quadratic formula.
Oh, let me do it.
We learned how to see.
X equals negative b plus or minus square root v squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
That was, oh my gosh.
It was rocky. I still did it though.
Beautiful. All right. Any questions before I pass out your homework?
Wait, we have that.
Yeah.